Welcome back, everyone. This is Praveen from Work Life with Praveen. And in today's episode, I'm going to be speaking about the two types of strategies for any business and how a business can be successful by choosing one of those strategies that I'm going to be laying out in front of you. So let's get started. So I'm going to start this video with a story. So when I was around 7 or 8 years old, there was a retailer who was in his maybe early 20s. Maybe he was 20 or 21, maybe. And he had just parted ways from his brother due to some family issues that I'm not aware of, but I definitely knew there was some kind of family issues or family disputes between the two brothers. And him, the person I'm speaking about, was a younger one. So he was 2021. He started his own retail store. And this store was about fixing electronic equipment such as mixer grinders, such as fan, and anything that basically requires a circuit board, right? So, and he was a good electrician, by the way, thanks to the years of him fixing all those things at his older brother's shop. He was good at it, but unfortunately, like I said, due to the family dispute, he had to part his ways and he started his own retail store where he started with fixing electronic devices, and soon he started selling some of the electronic devices such as fan, tube lights, bulbs, tape recorders, radios, and things such as those. Fast forward few months, he became a distributor for all these equipments that I've just spoke about, right? You could see a huge truck pulling up in front of his store, putting down or kind of stocking his small little store with maybe hundreds or 200s or 300s of the same product. And it leaves. All this was kind of a surprise for all of us who were in the neighborhood, because when he had parted his ways with his brother, he hardly knew how to speak to a customer. He hardly knew how to speak to individuals, let alone deal the business or let alone that diplomatic side of any businessman, right? He hardly had any connections in the market which he could leverage. So everyone in the neighborhood thought that probably he's going to be closing his store very soon and he will go back to his older brother and he will start begging for his forgiveness, and maybe his brother will take him back. All of us were wrong. I mean, in a matter of maybe couple of years, we saw this individual grow from a small little store to becoming a major distributor of some of the major brands in South Bangalore. And fast forward to today, or fast forward maybe 10, 15 years later, this individual became a major player when it comes to delivering electronic products to big apartment complexes, big buildings, big offices. And also, yes, he takes contracts to kind of do the entire circuit thing or electric thing for those huge buildings. And he has close to 20, 25 odd people working under him. Now, this individual, now his name is real. His name is Ram Nivas. And I knew him I knew him from a very young age, probably when I was 7 or 8, like I said. And I've seen this individual grow over a period of years. And something that I always thought was a success mantra for Ram was maybe he was more passionate, maybe he was good with business, maybe he was good with money. But as I've realized lately, as I gain more experience in business and as I grow experience in working with people, I come to the conclusion that Ram had all those things, but all those things came to him at the later part of his career. But something that he was really good at was having a good strategy. He was good to know that if he has to thrive in the electronics space, he has to look for a neighborhood, an area which is completely vacant, or I mean, maybe a little bit vacant, but is going to grow very soon, right? And And that's exactly what he did. When he had come to our neighborhood, I'm talking about maybe 2025, in fact, almost, yeah, 25 years earlier. This neighborhood that I live in, though today it is a part of core Bangalore, this was pretty much empty. Yes, there was growth everywhere. Yes, the buildings were coming up. But if someone would ask me if I thought, or if someone would have asked me if I would have thought that maybe this will grow as much as it did, I would have said, you probably are kidding me, right? So that's the kind of trajectory the area had. And Ram was able to foresee it, maybe earlier than a lot of other retailers, because he was one of the first retailers in this area to set up a shop. Now, what that allowed him to do is it kind of created that blue ocean for him. If you have read the book called Blue Ocean Strategy, it created a blue ocean for him where there were not many players that he had to compete with. He worked on his strengths, which was very few, right? I mean, he had not a lot of experience when it comes to dealing with people. The only experience he had was fixing electronic devices. And that was his strength, and he played to it. It's just that he chose a blue ocean. In simpler terms, he chose an area where there was no lot of competition for him to compete with. And that is where I will start this video today, which is, why is it important for businesses to have a strategy? In fact, good strategy, because when I say strategy, most of the businesses and business leaders, managers, senior managers, VPs, directors often use this term strategy, but they fail on certain parameters, and their strategy ends up being a bad strategy, and they end up doing things which probably could become counterproductive to what the organization or to what the company is trying to achieve in long term. Now, the reason why I thought it is important for me to share my learnings is because I read a book lately. Yes, I've read a lot of books on strategy. One of them was, I just mentioned, which was Blue Ocean Strategy. The other one was Playing to Win. Both of them were fantastic. Both the books were great. But today I'm going to be focusing on one of the books that I read recently, which is Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. It is written by Richard Rumel. And I'm going to just put it somewhere in my details section. Probably you can read it yourself if you want to learn more about strategy, where Richard, the author of the book, Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, explains in detail what a good strategy is, how to implement it, and what are the benefits of it. He actually brings a lot of case studies in his book. And at the same time, he explains something called bad strategy. And again, he has a lot of case studies to it and a lot of examples and a lot of explanation of how organizations implement bad strategies, thinking that it's good, and what are the ill effects of having a bad strategy is. Now, in today's world, most of the organizations have made it a sort of mandate for having a vision and a mission statement. And I often wonder if they have good plan, in simpler terms, if they have good plan to actually achieve that vision and mission statement. You pick a organization, right? Now, if I pick an organization which says that, hey, I want to become the best organization or the best company to deliver a particular product. Now, if they stop at it, if they stop at this, there's a lot of things which is flawed in that statement. But if you look at a lot of organizations' vision and mission statements, this is the kind of statement you would see. Now, the problem with this is it is not specific. And even in some cases, if let's say a CEO or let's say the board goes an extra mile in specifying few things in their vision and mission statements, it doesn't get translated down to the individuals, the employees, so that their employees can actually work in alignment to that particular vision that they have. And that is where the problem is. And that is where the organizations fail to succeed. Now, I'm going to be doing a video in near future of about on about having a vision and a mission statement. What does it mean? Why, in fact, most of the companies having a vision and mission statements fail. Though it is fancy, though it is outrageous, though it is ambitious, why they still fail. I'm going to be doing a video on that in near future. But today's blog, like I said, is going to be focused on good strategy and bad strategy. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say if I have an organization, I own an organization, and my mission is to make sure that the individuals, when they buy gifts, they get the best gifts that they could ever see or that they could ever gift to their loved ones, right? And my vision is to become a market leader based on the customer count at delivering personalized gifts, right? Now, that's my mission. Now, the book by Richard explains that there are three important traits of a good strategy. The first trait is coherent actions. I'm going to repeat it, coherent actions. And if I have to simplify it using the example that I shared, which is around becoming a market leader based on the customer count at delivering personalized gifts. Now, this organization has to know that every action of every employee of the company should be focused towards accomplishing the task at hand, right? Which is become a market leader in delivering personalized gifts. It cannot be that some of my employees actually get into the projects or get into the programs which is not going to serve my purpose. So it is important that I have coherent actions by each and every employee of mine, including myself, to make sure every step that we take is in alignment to that long term strategy or long term vision that I have for the organization. And the second key trait of having a good strategy is the diagnosis. And a diagnosis is basically to understand what are the shortcomings of the organization which is preventing us from achieving the objective that we have at hand. Could it be cost of our products? Could it be the quality of the products? Or could it be maybe the way we are marketing the products is not good enough, right? So that is number two, which is diagnosis. The third and the last pillar for having a good strategy is the guiding policy. Now, the guiding policy is something where do I know the market? Do I know the marketing, the trends that is going around in social media? Would it be something that we as organization have to kind of keep up with when it comes to the latest technology and using it to our advantage? So the guiding policy is, in simple terms, the set of rules that we have for ourselves, which is triggered. So the rules are acted upon the moment any of the employee of the organization observes or even notices it in the market or anywhere else, right? So that is the third and the most important part, which is the guiding policy. Now, there was this case study in this book which was shared, and I'm going to share it with you all, which kind of impressed me a lot. So this case study is of Walmart, owned by Sam Walton. Now, in 1960s, most big retailers, right? And I'm talking about United States. So most big retailers in United States, such as Kmart or Sears, believed that rural towns lack the population to sustain profitable stores, right? So all these huge chains or huge organizations or huge retail stores were focusing on towns which had at least 100,000 citizens or 100,000 people in those towns. And they thought that if I have 100,000 people to serve as a customer, it's only then having a store in that area or in that town will be profitable. Sam Walton observed this trend, and what he started doing is, instead of chasing urban markets like its competitors, Walton committed to small town dominance. What he did was having a strategic mantra of something he called EDLP, which is everyday low price, and not just the periodic big sales. Right now, what we see even in India and elsewhere, probably throughout the world, we see that only during specific time of the year or specific time of the month, some of these retailers come up with discount days or offer days. But Sam Walton thought, okay, he's not going to do that. He's not going to create offer days. Rather, he coined the term, which was EDLP, everyday low prices. That means any of the customers who would walk into his store will be rest assured that that is the least price of that product that they can get ever, regardless of it being a holiday season or any festival or any occasion or whatever that is, right? Or maybe a regular working day as well. So he came up with that. Then, second thing, what he did was he opened clusters. He opened clusters around distribution centers to minimize transport costs. So, what he did was he had a distribution center located in such a way that um, that having in such a way that it that distribution center can actually serve as a distribution center to multiple stores. And also what he did was he came up with a centralized logistics system, which was actually exactly opposite to what was being done by their competitors or by his competitors. He centralized the whole operations where everything from the inventory, from buying goods from wholesalers or from the producers, everything will be controlled by this one central command center, which if I translate into let's say if I break it down, this command center will be able to work with the farmers, work with the producers, work with the organizations to buy their products at lot more cheaper rates, because here one distribution center is going to buy products for all of its stores across the United States. So obviously the cost would be a lot lesser. The third thing that he did was computer was getting into the market in 70s and 80s. So what he started doing, to whatever technology he could get his hands on, he started to use technology to maintain inventory systems. And he also did satellite communications before his competitors could catch on. And the last bit, which is the guiding policy, right? The last bit he did was he made sure that all his employees understood that their objective is to save the money for the customer. It was save money for the customer was their objective, and it was the objective for each and every employee, so that they could act accordingly and make sure that their customers get the best out of Walmart. Now, if you think about it, all this is pretty simple. And that's how good strategy is. Good strategy almost always looks this simple and obvious. Discovering the critical factors in a situation like this and designing a way of coordinating and focusing actions to deal with them looks like it's all simple, but it's a lot more complex than we think. Walton didn't just dream being the biggest retailer here, by the way. Now, that was probably his inner objective, but he didn't just dream about being the biggest retailer. He designed a system to make it inevitable. And it kind of reminds me of this sentence that I read in the book, which is a good strategy always includes a set of coherent actions. It is about action. It is about doing something. Now, from a single rural store, Walmart, with the clarity of purpose and alignment of execution, kind of propelled Walmart into a retail leader it is today. And now let's consider the exact opposite to what we just discussed when it comes to Walton and Walmart, right? Now, if I have to think about a bad strategy in a similar industry, Big Bazaar comes to my mind. Now, Big Bazaar, which was basically a crown jewel it was the most important project of the future group. And it was the answer of future group for Walmart, and this was in 2000s. Right now, those of us who've been around for some time on this planet would know what Big Bazaar is. In fact, some of the individuals who are in their teens or even maybe children, even they would have seen some ads lately, but they all have died down now because it is owned by Reliance today. But Big Bazaar blended a feel of Indian marketplace with a scale of supermarket, if I have to put it across that way. Now, quickly it became a household name. Now, if we had individuals, we had people whom we knew who would come to our house and say that okay, they got a particular product in Big Bazaar, right? So it kind of became a good thing to say where you get your groceries from or where you get your kitchen items from. And if it was Big Bazaar, you knew that okay, this is going to be a good product, right? Probably a premium product. Now, but in late 2010s, right? By late 2010s, which is 2010, cracks in its strategy became too deep to fix. It started to collapse. It started to accelerate on the debt. And at the same time, the competition started to pile up or started to increase. And then all of a sudden, the pandemic happened. Now, when I say competition, the competition came in a lot of different ways, right? Now, along with Big Bazaar, on a similar concept, but at a cheaper price, DMart was launched. Today, DMart is actually owning a lot of stores across India. And a lot of lower middle class and middle class families actually go to DMart to buy their kitchen items at a cheap rate. So that is where we go. So DMart came up, then Reliance Retail came up in the market, and then Flipkart came around, Amazon came around. Now, customers were moving towards either the high discount format, such as DMart, or convenience based or convenience focused online shopping, such as Amazon, Flipkart, or GeoMart as well, right? So either it was move to DMart for cheaper price, or if you want convenience, go with Amazon, Flipkart, or GeoMart. Now, instead of recognizing this operational inefficiency and pricing uncompetitiveness as the core problems, Big Bazaar doubled down on store expansion. They thought, okay, let's go ahead and get more retail space so that we can open more shops, and maybe assuming the brand familiarity, people would keep coming to their store. But unfortunately for Big Bazaar, that was not the case. Big Bazaar tried to be all things to its customers. In fact, the strategy they came up with was okay, let's do a discount store, let's do a fashion destination, which was fashion at Big Bazaar. Then came grocery bazaar, then came electronic seller. Now, they came up with all these things as a strategic move to compete with Dmart, Geo, or Reliance, Amazon, or Flipkart. But none of it actually worked because they were playing against its competitors on their strength, right? And this strategy was flawed right from the beginning. Now, what happened, if I have to quickly summarize all this, was one, they kind of tried diversifying a lot. Probably even the Big Bazaar employees didn't know what were different kind of stores they had. Operational inefficiencies, such as complex supply chains, high rental costs, poor inventory management. All this would mean that okay, they could not compete with a DMart on the price side of things. Now, they also kind of delayed themselves from getting into digital. I mean, now these days we have Blinkit, Zomato, Swiggy, we have Big Basket. So all of these things deliver products to our houses. And if you think about it, Big Bazaar could have taken advantage of it had they moved little quicker. But unfortunately, they thought consumers still like to actually go there and shop and carry 10 or 12 or 15 kilograms of grocery, book a rickshaw or put it in their car or put it in their bike, have so much of inconvenience, and still they would probably go to Big Bazaar, right? And that is where I think they lost the whole objective, or that is where I think they lost the whole plan. And then all this kind of compounded, and they went deeper into debt because of all these expenses that they were incurring, store expansion and all those things. So unfortunately for Big Bazaar, the day came and the inevitable downfall happened. And I think that is where Big Bazaar lost. I mean, and that's exactly what bad strategy is. I mean, bad strategy is long on ambition, but it's short on focus. Big Bazaar wanted to be everything for every one and everywhere, but ended up being nowhere for anyone. Now, to summarize, a good strategy is a clear, focused plan that identifies the real challenge. It is a set of guiding policy and drives a set of coherent actions to overcome it. Now, a bad strategy is vague, full of ambition, without focus, ignores key problems, and scatters efforts across unaligned initiatives. That strategy is something where you would say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna become the best dancer there is, but you are failing to define what the best dancer is actually mean, right? Or would actually mean. Or on what parameters would you assess you're a good dancer in the whole wide world? And again, you get a little deeper and you would start thinking, if you actually are able to define those things, what is your strategy, right? And that's exactly what a bad strategy is. It's like I said, it's vague, it's full of ambition, but it ignores key problems. And you basically scatter your effort pretty much everywhere, and you think that's the strategy to achieve your objective. Now, pretty much that's all I have for today's video. And just in case if you're wondering what happened to Ram, I just happened to meet him a couple of months ago, and he's actually has become a major player in the real estate world. He's buying properties, he's building huge buildings. He actually owns a lot of rental properties in South Bangalore, and yeah, I mean is living a happy life with his wife and two beautiful daughters. And yeah, he's built a lot of um, apartment complexes here in Bangalore and some buildings in his hometown, which is Rajasthan. So, with that, I'm going to close today's video. Now, if you have liked this video, if you have learned anything at all, please help me grow and share this knowledge to as many as people possible. You can do that. You can just click on like and hit subscribe button. And if you think there is something that I can do better, I'm always open for feedbacks. Put it in the comments, and I will promise you that I will work on that feedback and get better as soon as possible. With that, like always, be great.